All right, so we got to go to the shack and look for Dave.
Yep.
Mr. Dave.
Though it's actually kind of like
Diamond Dave. Well,
I saw some people talking on Twitter, Austin Walker among them, who is kind of like, I think it's very interesting that you have, you have Noctis, you have Prompto, you have Gladiolus, you have Ignis, and then you have Dave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and kind of like talking about the kind of this kind of aspect where it's like, there's this very clear divide here between like the magical Kingsglaive, with their swords and magic and like antics, and then just like, yeah, here are people at a restaurant and they're eating food.
Yep.
And
The people basically the people outside the wall and the people inside the wall.
right, and then like we haven't talked about like Dave here is like this head hunter, and like he's a hunter without magic, like he does not actually have magical flashy teleporting weapon.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And like all of the hunters, and like, yeah, we have these dog tags so that when you get killed and eaten by monsters, people know, like, people can find us and know that we got killed and eaten by a monster. And then Noctis is like, oh yeah, that must be rough. I'm going to use this magical potion to heal myself now.
Yeah. And it's funny because I mean, in the game lore, it's only magical because he's using it. Because Noctis is the one that's using it because he has magical powers. So
right.
he his powers give it.
Yeah, like it says as much in like the item screen. It's like, oh yeah, there's just like an energy drink, but it's magic because he's drinking it.
Yep.
So it's kind of like,
which I find to be a little bit disappointing. I mean, I don't know, this kind of feeling that the world, the only like magical part of the world other than like the crystals are the monsters themselves, and that everything else is kind of not magic at all, is kind of a little bit disappointing, especially in a Final Fantasy sense. But then again, I mean, really, when I'm thinking back, I mean, that is kind of how Final Fantasy VI worked. Was that magic was just not there. Like, there were monsters and stuff, but, like, nobody could use magic. And, the only way when your party got magic, it was learning it through the Espers and such.
Through Magicite. And the thing is, they kind of did something like that in 12, only it was just so... Like, that was so normalized. Like, yeah, you had to use, like, you would... Nethicite, manufactured ethicite, etc.
Nethicite, yeah. I can't even remember what that was about.
And so it's kind of like they've kind of had that aspect of like, magic comes from the crystal, in one way or another.
That's fair.
And so I mean, I like the conceit of the setting. It's just what really comes down to is, are they actually going to pull this off in an interesting way?
Yeah.
Because like, is it just going to be like, do you just get quests from hunters for the entire game and that's going to be it, or is there actually going to be talking about like, yeah, actually, in addition to being the pampered prince in the kind of anime sense, is this actually going to talk about like, you are rich and well off and don't have to worry about getting killed on a monster hunt because you have like 3 bodyguards with you?
Well, are you talking about specifically about the hunts themselves as side quests, or are you talking about through the game?
I'm talking about how that mechanic is structured, or like how the kind of thing they've introduced here about magic only existing in relation to the royals. Like, how is that going to work?
Yeah.
Because especially with
I suspect that's going to be a big focus, because I mean the whole thing. Right.
But I mean, like, for say in Kingsglaive, like the big plot point in Kingsglaive was like, you have the ring.
No spoilers or anything.
I mean, spoilers.
Maybe we should wait to talk.
The magic is connected to the royal line,
Okay, and maybe we should save the part where we talk about Kingsglaive until it's actually occurred in the story, because the...
Sure, I mean, I was just going to talk about, like, basically, you have, like, they have magic, and they have magic because of this thing that's in their family line, right?
Yeah, I'm not... And that is the thing, too, right? Like, he had to... Okay, Yeah, well, yeah, so it's connected.
Yeah, and then basically in Kingslave, people who aren't royals tried to do that, and it's like, no, actually, you're not royalty, so you can't do this.
But they can get, it can essentially be loaned to you.
Is it cool that we
Yeah.
Crown's Guard outfits?
From...
Yeah, and this is like, you know,
They made them especially for
all of these outfits that these people are wearing
In the Crown's
are
Guard,
specifically tailored
identifies
for
you.
them.
So
Yeah.
And you're expected to dress uniquely, which I feel like is kind of this very interesting thing, because like, you know, that's one of the big kind of kind of social differences between, you know, European or, you know, United States and Japanese culture, which is that like being a part of a group and like being in uniform as this aspect of the group is a much more empowering thing in Japan than it is in the United States. Because in the United States, everyone is supposed to be kind of unique and their own person and kind of
Yeah.
self-motivated and not be part of a group.
Yeah.
And so that these people all have their specific, fancy, fashionable outfits, but they're also tailored as part of their membership in this elite group that they're all a part of.
Yep.
Is, I think, kind of explicitly trying to but trying to resolve that duality and make it more marketable for both United States and Japanese, like, sales.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think they're losing a certain amount of... I don't know. Losing a certain amount of steam by trying to do that. Like, trying to blanket... I understand the drive to, because, I mean, how much time and money did they spend on this game? But I really feel that it almost would have been better to not to cater to either.
Sure, but I mean,
because the problem, I think the biggest problem is probably that they set this in a modern setting, so they had to have kind of a
well, I mean, if you recall,
something
like,
to base it on.
Final Fantasy VIII also took in a modern setting and also had all of your seeds in their seed uniforms. But then when they're off duty, they switch into their unique duds.
Oh, that's
so it's
right.
not even that this is necessarily a unique thing that they're only doing now.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of like, you know, this has been kind of a tension maybe in some of the way that the settings have been constructed for a while.
Yeah. I guess I'm just thinking more along the lines of the earlier games tended to have a more unique kind of setting and really just feel to it.
Sure.
They weren't trying to copy anything particularly directly.
Sure.
I mean,
but I mean, there's also always been that line of inspiration, like from 7 onwards. Like 7 was originally going to take place in New York City.
what?
Like, oh yeah, Parasite Eve is basically the original plot doc for Final Fantasy VII.
Really?
Like, that's why Cloud has Mako eyes, is because Aya has glowing magical eyes also.
Or you mean Aya? That's
Aya Brea, yeah.
Oh. That's why they have... Okay.
Yeah, and then that's also why, like, Barrett and Daniel, like her cop partner,
Yeah.
are basically the same character archetype. They both have, like, the kid who's, like, the motivation for a lot of their action.
Wow.
And basically, the original Final Fantasy VII pitch was basically, this is a story set in reality. And, you know, there's a fantasy set in reality, and it's kind of talking about this kind of much more real-world structure to all of these things. You know, and then they're like, actually, we can't do this. We want something more fantastical. And then they made up Midgar to be Fantasy New York City.
Ah.
And so it's kind of like, there's been that tension, kind of like, we want to draw from reality, but we're also kind of structuring.
That's...
Sure, is that like,
That's...
who's behind him? That must be Noctis behind him.
Yes, it's
Because
not...
because
you can
Prompto's
see
the one taking the shot.
Well, you can see his engine blade.
Right.
That's... That's just like...
Yeah, I got one.
Not bad.
He only took 9 pictures?
Yeah, apparently.
That's weird.
In another one, like, I remember playing, like...
It's probably because we didn't...
We did this very quickly.
Yeah.
Let's just continue.
Oh, yeah, and there was 150 photos, too.
Oh,
Just one.
okay.
So we thought that maybe upgrading the photography skill would give you more slots for photos, but that doesn't look to be the case,
Right.
at least at this point.
Um,
Like a
and then, like, I remember like playing Dark Cloud 2, which also had like a photography mechanic, and just using it to like, oh, I warped out of the game's geometry. I'm going to take a photo of this. So it's kind of hoping to see some stuff like that in this. Like, oh, whoops, I'm teleporting outside the world.
Oh,
Let's get prompted to take a screenshot.
Oh,
while I fall
God.
into the abyss.
yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. I mean, actually, the one thing that I heard was, one of the things that I've heard rather, is that
Oh yeah, and here's
oh yeah, here's some of our draw
Magic.
points. And so one of the things that I heard was that a frustrating part of battle was the boundary for the battle is that you can accidentally leave the battle, and that tends to happen.
Yeah, I know,
and it's kind of
I've-
frustrating.
I've kind of accidentally warped outside that once. And it was like, whoops, the battle's over. No, wait, it's back on again. The monsters chased you back.
But yeah, I mean, if I recall, you get experience for pretty much the damage and stuff that you've done
Yes.
in battle, regardless of
Um,
if you defeat the enemy.
Yeah. And so, like, here's the other thing. Is that, like, okay, so you have these draw points.
Yeah.
And they're around every camp, like, each of these, they're around all your campgrounds. So it's like, there's one for each element.
Yeah.
Is, like, turns out to be very close by to every campground so far.
Yeah.
And that seems like it kind of, like, they wanted it to just be like, oh yeah, you get your casts back when you
When you camp.
camp, but then they're like, well, let's just make it a little more, crafty.
Oh,
Because
switch your weapon too, so you get hit him with something vulnerable to you. Also, you're level 3 and he's level 12. I don't expect you'll actually have a
wait,
problem.
is he level 12?
Yes.
Oh, well then.
Yeah, but you're doing all right. I mean, really, all things considered. Look out! Oh, nice. Yeah, I kind of like that. There's a lot of opportunities to recover. You gotta be careful. Get to that warp point. No, don't worry about it. Just
Oh,
get
yeah.
to the warp. There you go.
The mechanics of this just seem so... Like, that's one of the issues, is that, like, the whole, like, you have to lock on, and you can switch to lock on mode when you've done this thing, but then, like, that's only for one part of it. Like, one battle gets you a lock on. You can't switch it permanently to just lock on. You have to kind of hit R3 to lock on each time.
Yeah.
And then the issue with that is that if you're not locked on, then R3 is the map button.
Yeah, and that
So
really
there's kind
bothers
of some
me.
issues with controls here.
There are different layouts for the controller, but it's that there's a few layouts. There's, as far as I can tell, there's no custom setting. Like, you can't change the command. You can't change what they do by yourself manually.
Right.
It's just, oh, wow. That was a parry?
Yes.
Nice.
Um,
Those are tough to pull off.
What's what?
I've come up with a new recipe.
I can taste that.
Yay! All right, new recipe. That's just what I wanted. That's what I wanted. This is what I do. Recipe.
okay, and so I believe the goal
God, I'm hungry.
now is just to return back.
Yeah, I mean, you can warp to your car.
Can I, if it's still busted?
Oh yeah, that might be. Well, I mean, it's on your. I suppose probably not. Oh well. I guess you'll just have to dash the whole way.
Yep. Oh,
And-
that actually reminds me to do the most important thing that I have not done so far, which is change everybody's outfit.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, we did get the
Wearing sportswear.
we got the day 1 edition, so we got the extra stuff. Yeah. Actually, we got the normal, the special edition light, just to say the metal case one, and so we got Kingslave 2 and other things. pretty cool stuff. But I almost wish I'd gotten the super expensive one, but I really don't have any money. So
What actually comes with the super
I
expensive
can't even
one?
remember. There was a bunch of stuff like an Amano poster or something like that. That would have been because I adore Yosutake Amano.
Right.
Like I have like one or two of his art books, and yeah, I love his stuff. Which reminds me, I should probably get the other ones. I kind of like that. I still like that he's in a full out dash and everybody else is like sprinting, or just like it's like a light jog.
Yeah, I mean, there's always
Okay,
gonna-
Prompto's actually running fast, but
That's a duel.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the question of like,
But not your run-of-the-mill breed.
how are you going to deal with animations here? You know,
oh, what do you mean?
like, do you remember Suikoden 3 and how you like the walk animations are these kind of like programmatic, incredibly stiff things?
Oh, yeah, because I brought that up and I was pointing that out to you when we were playing it.
Yeah.
That it was really bothering me, like how he seemed like he was stumbling along instead of actually running. Oh yeah, this one's the. Oh, you. Oh. I'm confused as to how it works in this situation. Nice.
I really have no idea.
Because I think you're supposed to you can chain them or something. Like you can do, if you have a full bar, you can do everyone's link strike or technique in succession. Oh yeah, now you have to do it again. So use the technique, Tempest.
I did.
No, I mean, did you just use it?
Yes, I just got the AP for it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Ring ring.
I love that. I love that.
Hello?
Hey, Dave just called and said he's safe. Thanks for finding him.
Ken?
Nice work. By the way, the old girl's looking good as new. Oh, while I got ya, if y'all want to fix her up before you roll out, let me know.
Yes.
I don't even really know what tuning up the card does.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
But-
I don't, maybe it makes it go faster or whatever.
Sure. I mean, apparently you can customize it, just something.
So, who's up next behind the wheel?
Ignis should take it and never let go.